my end of the world tour has brought me back to Alaska. Of course, this is where I live, so I love being back here, but it's also the end of the summer. That means the leaves are going yellow, even though it's only the first week of September. And the leaves will be coming down soon and we'll be headed into winter. This has just been a hell of a summer up here in Alaska. We had a lot of forest fires. And that's just how it's going to be as we go into the future. Because of climate change, we're going to get more and more and more forest fires. And the end result is we're going to see the boreal forest transformed by forest fires. And eventually it's going to transform into some other kind of ecosystem. Because the boreal forest is no longer in equilibrium with the climate we have now. So we're in a hell of a position. We can watch this happen. It's going to be a glorious thing to watch this transformation and see the boreal forest destroyed by forest fires caused by ongoing climate change. Let's do a quick flashback to July when the fires were raging and smoke was everywhere and see how this all went down here in Alaska. Okay, well this is Professor Earth and we're here in the Earthmobile and we're going down to see a fire that's over 100,000 acres of burned up wood here in Alaska. And it's right up there. You can see it straight ahead. And so what we're going to do is roll down here and try and get as close as we can, get the cameras out, and see this beast that's eating up the boreal forest day by day here in Alaska. A series of small fires started in the floodplain of the Tanana River. And these were on the other side of the river from the town of Fairbanks, and the roads and the human development. So they pretty much just let them burn out there, and they grew every day. They grew every week until they were over 100,000 acres. And I decided to go see them, and I was expecting something like this. I was expecting to see huge fires at the end of the road that led down towards the fire area. But instead, when I got there, in the town of Salcha, I found a beautiful bar called the Riverside Bar, serving wonderful beers. And you could sit outside and look across the river at the fires. You're perfectly safe, but you're looking at just incredible things going on just across the river, where this fire was growing and growing day after day. In the afternoons, as the day got hotter, the fire would transform and you'd see huge pyrocumulus clouds going up into the sky 20, 30,000 feet up, driven by the incredible intensity of the fire that we could see, again, just across the river from the beautiful little Riverside Bar. Of course, there were days when the wind shifted and it blew across the area of the Riverside Bar, blew across the Tanana River, and you really couldn't be there. But most of the time it was pretty nice. Fairbanks got some incredibly smoky days, up to 400 or 600 parts per million, PM 2.5 in the air. And eventually there was so much smoke it filled up the entire Tanana Valley. And you could even see it from outer space, as this imagery shows. You can see the red spot in Alaska. That was the fire. But notice there's other fires in Canada and Siberia. This is a global phenomena, incinerating the boreal forest due to global warming, due to the heating that's going on around the planet and affecting the boreal forest. Most people just can't accept the idea that a few degrees of warming that are projected as, part of climate change, that's going to be enough to upset the equilibrium and have something like the boreal forest totally disappear. But let's look at this in a different way. Rather than looking at the number of degrees, let's do this geographically. As we go through global warming, what will the climate, let's say, of Central Alaska be like? And as this figure shows, the climate of Central Alaska is changing to something like the climate of the mountains in southern New Mexico. Now, personally, I love the mountains of southern New Mexico. Here are the Las Cruces Mountains, east of Las Cruces in southern New Mexico. And you have sage grasslands coming up to a pine forest, rocky summit. It's very beautiful, but it's not the boreal forest. Not a single plant, not a single animal, not a single insect, not even the soil is the same in the mountains of southern New Mexico as those that we see in the boreal forest. But this is what the boreal forest is going to transform towards. It's going to take it a while to get there. So we're going to see the boreal forest disappear and trees from places like this try to move north as the climate changes, but we're not going to reach equilibrium conditions for some time. We're going to be in a situation where the boreal forest will be out of equilibrium. We're headed towards this kind of condition, but we're not going to get there for decades or even hundreds of years. It's just going to be very interesting to see how everything changes as we go forward. But the one thing that we can be sure of is the change seems to be happening by forest fires. So we're going to see a lot more forest fires in the boreal forest driving things towards this change, because the current forest is not in equilibrium with the current climate that we're seeing as global warming moves ahead.